another Power Review, episode 9. Let's get straight into it. So, I'm going to rename this episode The Cleanup because there were a lot of things that was cleared up or cleaned up, and also some of the characters were moving to where they actually had to do some cleanup work. So I feel like that's an appropriate title for this episode. Alright, so in the first scene, Tariq is going into his classroom and nobody is there except for Councilman Tate. Now we know that Carey Milgram was taken out by Monet and made to look like a suicide. So Tariq is talking to Tate in 1 minute, and then Tate turns into Jabari Reynolds. So when he turns into Jabari Reynolds, Tariq is faced with all of the bodies that's on his conscience. And they are telling him, if it wasn't for you, Tariq, I would still be alive. And that's a heavy load to bear, because if you are the key factor in a lot of people turning up dead, someone is going to look at you, and it appears that Tariq is pointing the finger at himself subconsciously. So the phone rings, and it's showing it's his father, which actually wakes him up into his real life. The phone is ringing. And let me just put this out there, and I'm sure it's already been said, but is Ghost still alive or what? What's going on with that? Because in 1 minute, they talk about him like in the past, but the more that things are progressing, it seems like it could be a possibility to bring Ghost back in some way. And that would be very interesting, if they did. Like, how is Ghost going to face his son? Because Tariq, regardless if Ghost wanted to own up to it or not, he is a product of him and Tasha. So that can't be denied. And regardless if Tariq didn't earn his position, so to speak, like he manipulated into the position, he wasn't really hitting the streets like that. Not like how Ghost was doing or Tommy was doing. He manipulated himself into the position where he is. And at this point, it doesn't seem like it's too far. Like he doesn't have a lot of things to show for it other than bills. So we will just have to see if they are going to do that. I mean, I am here for it if they want to bring Ghost back. Now, just when Tariq was about to leave the class, Lauren is there on the other side of the door, and he tells her to don't go in there. And she says she has perfect attendance. She's not going to miss class. So it seems like there is some foreshadowing going on when that happens, because why is Lauren there? All of the people who have died based off of who he is and what he does, and Lauren shows up. So now he is up, and he's on the phone with Davis, who gives him a call. And who is in his bed once again? Effie. So Davis gives Tariq a heads up to let him know that the DA plans on calling Rashad Tate as a witness. And then he asks Tariq, what does he have on him? Tariq lets him know he doesn't have any dirt on him, and then he goes over to Tate's office. Now, Tate definitely wants that picture that Tariq told him about. And Tariq, he ends up giving it to him. And this is where things are really starting to heat up as far as loyalty to your friend or loyalty to yourself or your own self-interest. Because Brady didn't want him to give that photo up. And yet, Tariq did that in order to save his own neck. Now, when I saw Councilman Tate and his brother talking in his office, you just knew something was going to be said. Now, his brother had been receiving a phone call from some lady who said she has seen 2 people committing the crime of Jabari Reynolds, not just one. And his brother is asking Tate, should I come forward with this? And Tate was like, no, don't even worry about it. Yet, when he goes to court, this is what he brings up. And it gives the impression that there can be a dismissal. So now let's shift over to Monet and Dante. Monet ends up going to Dante's house, and she's on the phone trying to reach Zeke. But Zeke is not picking up his phone, and Dante comes in. Now, on a side note, I just gotta say, I'm liking this outfit that Monet is in. It's very Dope Queen fashion to me. Everything up to this point that Monet has worn just makes me think of Dope Queen fashion for some reason. So I really do like how it's tailored to her. It doesn't have to show all of her breasts hanging out or anything loose like that. It really goes with her character, because it's like, yeah, I dress this way. I may be flossy just a little bit or just a lot of bit. However, I will take you out. So that's what her outfit definitely communicates to me, and just literally made me think of Dope Queen fashion. Moving on, so Dante tells Monet that Zeke wants to meet up with him, and she's getting ready to go, and he tells her he just wants to meet up with me. However, I'm gonna put in a word for you. So the tables have turned as far as who has access at this moment to Zeke, because it was the other way around, that Monet was telling Dante, look, I'll introduce you to Zeke so you can speak with him or talk with him. But now, since the truth has come out, it's Dante telling her, look, let me talk to Zeke and I'll let you know what's going on. So now let's pick it up a little bit. Tariq gives Councilman Tate the picture. Dante goes to his other spot where Kane is, and he tells Kane, guess what, you got a promotion, but you're gonna have to live here, you can't leave. And Lorenzo pitched a big fit in his bedroom where he has torn it up, and he's looking for his drugs. He is on the phone trying to figure out what's going on, and finds out from Dante that Dante got robbed. This is where Drew and Diana come into play, and they tell Lorenzo how Dante got robbed. So let's pause for a second and talk about how Lorenzo is questioning whether he made the right decision as far as putting Drew in the number 2 spot, because Drew lied to him and helped Tariq, Monet, Kane steal from the Connect, which knocks their business, and he did it all because of revenge. So it wasn't very smart. And also, Diana, she tells everything. She talks too much. Even Drew put it out there, like, you talk too much. And it literally messed up the family dynamic. Personally, with that information that she had about Zeke, she should have held on to it a little longer. I'm not saying she could have blackmailed her mother, but if she would have held on to that information, I think she would have had a little more power from her mother. Not saying that her mother would have bent to Diana's will, but maybe she could have tried some things or put her in a leverage position to where she could have negotiated getting some things. Maybe like going to the school where Tariq is at. And this is another way or another reason why I think they are similar in nature, Diana and Tariq. However, I don't like how Diana is now moving in a way to where she wants to get the information of where the drugs are from Tariq. So she plays her hand now. So now Dante, Monet, and Zeke are having their sit down, and Zeke gets to hear the whole story in its entirety about what happened with Monet. Now Dante wants to be a supportive father, and he sits there and he basically tells Zeke that Monet had no reason to trust him because he wasn't right back then, and she was just doing that to protect him. So Zeke ends up asking her his final question: did you have anything to do with Carrie? And Monet tells him, no, she didn't. She came from Lorenzo's place straight to Dante's place, and she had been there all night. Dante cut his eyes over to Monet, but he helped back her play and said, yeah, she was here. Now, I hope that this does not come back to bite Monet on the butt, because if she thought Zeke didn't want to have anything to do with her before, if he finds out that she had anything to do with Carrie, it's officially over. Because he's saying he just wants to go to the league and telling them both to forget about him, but there still seems like there's a small opening to where they still can try to be together as a family. But if he finds out about Carrie, that's just over and done with. Moving forward with the plan that Drew and Diana set into place, Everett and Drew are at his dorm room. Drew gets Everett's key card, and Diana is going over to Tariq's dorm room in order to get the code off of his phone. In the middle of all of this, the DA comes to Brady's house, and she's talking to Brady's father and a couple of relatives. One in particular, named Trace, who tells the DA that he and Braden were kidnapped by Kane and forced to sell drugs on the street. He also tells the DA that Kane and Tariq are selling drugs together. And it's unfortunate because that wire that Lauren wore when she was wearing that watch has Kane and Brady on it. So this is a reason why she is even, talking about the DA, she is even at Brady's house, because there's some evidence that shows he is involved. So now Brady's back is up against a wall, and it's him or Tariq. I don't think he wants to do this, it's very obvious, but he is going to have to make a choice between protecting his assets, which in some ways does protect Tariq, or to go along with the DA and give Tariq up. So Brady and Tariq are in the dorm room, and Brady is trying to figure out where Tariq's head is at. Tariq tells Brady that Tate is going to help him, and Brady already knows that Tariq must have given him the photo. And Brady has a very good point. He tells Tariq, it's not always about you. What about my family? And Tariq, just thinking that Brady is a white, rich male, he can shoulder some of the weight, so to speak, because he probably is going to go to jail regardless of who his father is. But Brady and his family, they make him pay their way out of a situation. So it's putting them against each other, and this also has a possibility of going in a very bad direction. Like, what is Brady going to do? He's trying his best to be a good friend, but if your friend is doing things behind your back and not thinking about, what about my family? I mean, are you still going to be a good friend to that person? So keeping up with the plan and getting back to it, Diana is coming into Tariq's room moments later, and this is when she cries, and she uses her power of vulnerability to get Tariq, to feel, I guess, empathetic towards her situation. And then she sets him up and asks him to go, or could she have some water, which he has to actually go outside of his dorm room to go and get for her so she could calm down. Now, when he does that, that's when she goes to his phone and gets the code. I don't know how she got it. I mean, does Tariq not have some kind of security on his phone? How is she just able to just go to this man's phone and then just get a code off of it? So Tariq, he has got to do better with the company he is keeping. And this makes me, like, I wanted, not necessarily wanted, but I thought that Diana and Tariq had a good chance of being together. But it really seems like that's not going to happen. So Drew and Diana, they're successful in getting the drugs, and they get them back to their father, who in turn takes them on the street. He gets that money. So while they're doing that, Zeke is at a press conference, and this is where it is leaked that Zeke is 23 years of age, and he stands to lose everything he has worked so hard for. Now he has to, or he may entertain the thought of Dante and Monet being in his life because of the situation he is in. Back on campus, Lauren and Tariq cross paths, and Lauren gets to tell Tariq everything she wanted to tell him that night when him and Diana got together. When Tariq finds out that Kane and Brady were on a wire that Lauren was wearing, he tells her that she needs to run, and he also offers to help her. Meanwhile, when the information was leaked about Zeke, he finds himself at the basketball court with Dante and Monet, and while they are talking, somebody pulls a drive-by on them, and Monet and Dante are asking each other, somebody following you? Who set this up? And Monet assumes that it's Lorenzo, and it very well could be. But now back at the dorm room, Tariq and Effie, they are being pretty cozy, or have been very cozy lately. And Tariq shares what he heard from Lauren. This puts Effie on high alert, and she knows that Tariq cares about Lauren, that he doesn't want to hurt her, but she feels it's necessary to tie up loose ends. So while Tariq is trying to figure out how to save Lauren, Effie is trying to figure out how to get rid of her. So this is when she goes to Kane. And when I saw them two together, I thought they are similar to each other. Like how I think Diana is like a female version of Tariq in some ways. Well, the same could possibly be said for Effie as far as how everyone is moving. Effie is not going to let that ride. And that is definitely something that Kane wouldn't do. So it's almost like they, in some ways, would be more compatible, but because they are so similar, they repel each other. And the same could be said for Diana and Tariq. So anyway, Brayden and Kane, they meet up, and Kane tells Brayden that he has to handle Lauren, and he really doesn't want to do it. Meanwhile, Tate is talking to the guy who can make his political career come back to life, and he shows him the picture of Brayden's father and the politician Sweeney in blackface. So now Brayden is leaving a spot, and the DA, she propositions him with an offer, and she also leaves her card with him because she tells Brayden, you know what's going to happen if Trace takes the stand against Kane. While he is doing that, Tariq is with that attorney that his father hired, and somehow they end up in front of Yaz's adopted parents' home, and they're giving her a cake. Looks like a birthday cake. And the lawyer tells Tariq, look, just let her be. But Tariq, he ends up getting out of the car, and he was going to go up to the house, but he stops, and he sees how happy she is. And I don't think it's necessarily about her smiling and being happy, more so than her being safe. Because if she gets back with him, there's no question that she is going to be in danger. It's just a matter of when. Now, jumping back to Monet and Dante for a minute, Monet comes in and she tells Dante that Lorenzo tried to hurt her, or tried to hurt Zeke. So we have got to take him out. Now, instead of him being alright with that, he suggested that they just get on his jet tomorrow and fly to paradise as a family. And I'm wondering, why wouldn't he not want to take the opportunity to get Lorenzo out of the picture for good? So when it comes out, through Davis telling Tariq that Dante is the biggest informant, that's probably why he didn't want to take the opportunity to get Lorenzo out for good. Maybe because he has already done it. And if they try to do this again, the information about him being an informant will come out, and we don't know how Monet is going to react. I mean, she already lost one family. Is she willing to lose another? Especially when she thought about going with him a few episodes ago, and it was only stopped when Lorenzo came out of prison. So getting back to it, it's the next day, and Brayden is talking with Effie, and he's letting her know what Kane told him to do. And Effie is sitting there telling Brayden, look, you chose the game. It's basically your duty to handle your business. And Brayden tells her, look, folks do dirt, but that doesn't mean you can't have a moral compass. And I mean, to each his own. I do agree in some regards that you can have a moral compass and also do dirt, because there's a limit to what you want to. And there shouldn't be some things that you are just willing to do. I mean, if you have no kind of morality, no kind of code of your own, then what does that essentially make you? Are you just deemed a monster? So he pointed that out to her. I mean, I see what she was saying too, because Brayden didn't even have to go into this game. This is something that he wanted to do. Unlike her, she being a survivor and being the person that she is, the life pretty much chose her, as if she had no type of options. And the options that may have been presented, because some people may say, well, she could have done this, she could have done that. But Some people are forced into situations where they have to choose between paying the rent or paying for food. And it seems like Effie is one of those people. So she's telling Brayden, you need to handle your business accordingly because this is what you chose. Now getting back over to Mecca, he's on his way back to his other spot where Cain is. And you can tell that he knew that Cain was the one who helped set everything up. And I said this last video, it seemed like Dante, because he has so much love for Monet, he won't allow himself to hurt Cain. So he already knew that Cain had something to do with the robbery. But when he goes to his bedroom and he finds out that his bag is missing, he immediately pulls his piece out on Cain to let him know he can't let that slide. And it's because when Tariq opens up that bag, he finds out a lot of information that he obviously must have given over to his lawyer. And then that's when Davis, like I said, told Tariq he is an informant. So Cain is still at Mecca's place, and Mecca, he steps out for a second. That's when Cain calls his mom to try to get some kind of perspective and also let her know that Mecca knows. However, Monet goes over to that spot. Now Tariq still thinks that Brayden is in his corner, and to some degree he is. So he gives Brayden a call and he tells him to please pick up Lauren and get her out of town. And Brayden agrees because he was already scoping her parents' place out. So Tariq messages Lauren and she goes and gets into Brayden's car and then they take off. However, when they pull over on the side of a road and it's dark, he pulls the piece out on her and she is crying and begging that he doesn't. But then he throws a bag to her and tells her to leave and to never come back or contact anybody through text message, phone calls, or anything. And we're going to pause right there because now we have to get back to Tariq going into his dorm room and Mecca is waiting on him. And he knows now that Tariq knows exactly who he is. And as Tariq said, you're like the GOAT of global snitching. So when Dante puts his gun up to Tariq's face, Tariq basically tells him he wants $2 million in an offshore account. So Tariq pretty much just shakes Dante down because he knows he's cornered. If everybody got wind or got word of his name, who he is, what he has done, they will probably pay to get that information. Now before Dante leaves the dorm room, he lets Tariq go on a little, something. He tells Tariq that he gave up Lomos, and before Lomos could find out that he was working with the feds, Ghost and Tommy, they had killed Lomos. And he basically just said, he just said to Tariq, when you see your father in hell, tell him good looking out. But I'm sitting here listening to this, and I'm like, but Dante, you are no better. You are a professional snitch who doesn't want to get caught up. So now we're back with Brayden and Lauren on their little trip. And Brayden, after pulling the gun out on her and she thinking it's her last ride, he throws a bag to her. He tells her to get out of here. Tells her that there's like some train or bus station a couple of miles down the road and to never come back, never text, never call your family, just go. And she was thankful until the cleanup woman shows up. Effie comes in. I thought she was gonna shoot Lauren right there. She didn't. She ends up knocking Lauren out and she puts her in the car, or she manages to get her in the car. So Effie comes through to clean up the mess. And we don't know what exactly happened to Lauren. We can only assume Effie took care of the problem because, like I have previously also stated, Effie and Monet roll in that same mentality. So it's possible, very possible, that she just went ahead and took care of the situation and we just didn't see it. But whatever she did, She ends up coming back to Tariq's dorm room. He's asleep, and she gets back in his bed. For the moment, everything is protected. So to just wrap up, how is Tariq going to feel once Lauren is gone? Because if they didn't show her being killed, I think in a later episode, maybe it's going to come out what actually happened to Lauren. And now Monet and Cane, they have decided to team up with Dante. Don't know if this is just a part of Monet's plan or if this is something serious to get with him, especially since they don't know he's an informant. And how is Diana and Tariq's interaction going to be from now on since she pulled her little move? So I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, like, share, subscribe, and until next time, bye.